long day today.
So did I. Oops, sorry.
You get the other one too, or is it just
No,
that
just
one?
this one.
Okay.
Record play, right?
Yep.
City of Salem, City of Salem, Massachusetts, the City Council Committee Committee of the Whole met in council chambers on Wednesday, July 21st, 2010 at 7 p.m. for the purpose of discussing the matter listed below. Notice of this meeting was posted July 16, 2010 at 9:16 a.m. This meeting is being recorded, and for the record, it is live on SATV per the request of Councilor Pelletier. So behave yourselves, because we're on television.
Excuse me, Colin?
The matter in front of us tonight is Council Order Number 453 in order to adopt the modification to the existing EOA and approve the site-specific EOA in order to provide a TIF to U.S. Biological for the certified project. In attendance, we have the mayor, Lynn Duncan from the planning department, and a bunch of people from U.S. Biological.
I would ask to suspend the rules so the mayor can introduce the folks that are here with us.
Council Pelletier requests that the rules be suspended to allow the mayor to speak, which we're not in a formal council meeting, but we will do that. And Mayor, if you'd like to talk about what's in front of us, and then we'll have Mr. These are on.
Okay, these are on. All right, so thank you everyone for, first of all, your willingness to coordinate this meeting so that we could put U.S. Biological in a position to not only get the city TIF, but obviously to take advantage of the state investment tax credit as well. So I think the cover letter pretty much explains who they are, and Warren Shore is here, and I think he can do a better job of explaining actually what they do. In fact, when I had the chance to meet with him, I told him, there's no way I'm regurgitating what you guys do. It's obviously has to do with, as you noted, life sciences. It's an opportunity to bring in what we think is a really clean technology to Technology Way. Many of you know this site has been dormant for, I don't know, probably a couple of decades since Thermal Circuits was the first business up there and went to Technology Way. When I was on the council, we had the opportunity to bring Salem Glass here. Both of those companies actually received TIFs or some form of assistance. I think Thermal Circuits, we actually gave them a loan, more of a public works development grant to get that site developed. As you recall, they were located right across the street from the DPW garage for many, many years, and were contemplating leaving the city. And that's what really got the ball rolling on Technology Way. Somewhere about the year 2000, Salem Glass was outgrowing their space on Canal Street, and we were able to locate them in that first parcel on Technology Way. And since then, you know, Fafford completed most of his commercial development on Traders Way. The phases of the construction for the residential units were completed, and we really lost his interest in marketing that site. We've sent several businesses there, but for whatever reason, they could never really put a deal together. So we're really grateful that we have a company now that's interested in coming in. It really fits with what we're trying to accomplish on Technology Way in terms of a clean industry. There were some concerns at one point, you know, what could go up there, what would really work. We think it dovetails nicely. I have had a chance to speak with both Tony Klein of Thermal Circuits and Jim Miller of Salem Glass. I think they're excited about having some company out there and beginning to finish out that commercial subdivision. The TIF that we're seeking is typical. In fact, you know, usually we try and have a very short time frame and a fairly modest amount for a TIF to help a business relocate. This is a little bit longer term, 13 years, what we've done in the past. That's really being driven by the Department of Revenue, who requires a depreciation schedule and a TIF schedule actually meet up. But you'll notice in the last few years, frankly, the TIF is very, very nominal. It's higher in the beginning years because this is a major investment for U.S. Biological to make early in, and all of those capital dollars will be invested in those early years. So we maximize the amount of the TIF in the years 1 through 5, and you'll see it then begin to taper off fairly substantially. Most folks know this here in the council, but just in case folks are watching at home, we really don't lose any money on a TIF. Whatever the baseline amount of taxes are on that current parcel, we will continue to get those dollars. The ability for Salem to offer a TIF is really driven by the fact that as new growth is developed on this site, new investments are put in, and the tax bill increases, we just take a little bit longer to reach the maximum 100% of their value. It gives us an opportunity to offer a break and an economic incentive to bring businesses to Salem. That, partnered with the state investment tax credit, offers businesses a real chance to grow and flourish. There will be job creation. We put in the cover letter 5 to 10 jobs is what U.S. Biological is anticipating over the term. In the application, you'll see it's 5. You can't really give a range. You have to give a number. And I think they want to try and be more conservative as opposed to less conservative and find themselves in a pickle if for some reason they're at 8 or 7. But in speaking with Warren, I think he has plans to really grow into this site. They're currently in Marblehead, 23 employees, 15,000 square foot building. We're talking about a 50,000 square foot building here, so you can see there's some opportunities for more square footage, more employees, and we hope, given the fact that they serve a global market, a real opportunity to increase our tax revenue. One housekeeping matter, since we submitted the original application, we've actually gone back with their finance folks and you know, taken a harder look at the numbers, and the amount of the TIF has actually been shaved down. We were initially projecting $190,000 and change for the TIF, and I should say at this over a 13-year period, that would be the value of what we estimated. These are all estimates because we don't have a full value on a new build out until it's actually constructed. What that new that tax incentive would be $190,000. The new tax revenue during that same time period would be $770,000. Since we've gone back and sort of reworked some of the numbers, it's closer to $161,000. We submitted a letter to the City Council earlier today. Just to clarify that, you don't need to change the order, everything's the same, but the TIF value is actually down from the 190 to I think it's 161 and change. Obviously, the tax revenues coming into us stay the same at $770,000. So we're very excited about this. We're supportive of this. I think this is a good tool. We've used it very judiciously in the past. I look forward to us being able to use it in the future in order to not only attract new businesses and sites that have laid dormant for a number of years, but most importantly to create the jobs in Salem and the economic vitality that we're very much interested in. I don't know if you have any questions, but I'd also certainly don't want to not let the council hear from Warren Shore, as the CEO of the company certainly has more to offer as well.
Thank you. Any questions to the mayor at this time? Seeing none?
Well, actually, yes.
Council?
Thank you,
Mr. Slonsky.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, okay. Through the mayor, please. Mayor, I'm in favor of this. However, there are a few questions here. One of the questions I'm going to refer to the CEO of the company later, and that's about biohazards.
Yep.
But I wanted to talk about the specific part on Council Order 453.
Okay.
That you want to go to a site-specific EOA.
Yeah.
How does that change the 20-year time frame? And is that something that we will now be able to, are we going to get rid of the overall package and be able to do this continuously past 2015?
Yes, in fact, that is another housekeeping matter that has really been brought to our attention the last time we did a TIF by the Economic Assistance Coordinating Council, by the state folks. A couple of communities, Salem and Beverly and a few others across the Commonwealth, did not designate specific areas within their city. They said, look, we want the whole city to be an economic target area. And we did that because we weren't really sure, if a business wanted to come in, we didn't want to exactly pinpoint where they wanted to go. We wanted to have the flexibility to have them go anywhere. In so doing, though, it put some limitations on our timeline because they looked at our economic opportunity area, meaning in our case the whole city, as having a timeline that would run out. So they have said to us, rather than have your whole city be designated an EOA, come in on a project by project basis. If you don't, you will exactly run into the problem that you mentioned, a timeline, meaning pretty soon you'll only be able to offer a 2-year TIF because the clock is ticking. If you take care of this matter from a housekeeping perspective and just designate economic target areas as new businesses come in, they really don't have a problem with that. The big reason they want economic investment is job creation. So it's not so much you're trying to pinpoint an area, you're trying to create growth and jobs. So in fact, doing this will enable us to keep offering TIFs for many more years to come, should it be a good idea.
After
not doing
2015?
Yes, not doing it would actually put that limitation on us that we're trying to avoid.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Councilor O'Keefe.
Mayor, is the proponent going to have all kinds of technical handouts, material, of what they're going to do there? Is that?
You know what, I think
prepared
Warren,
to-
I think Mr.
I mean, this is great, all this management stuff or tax. What are they going to do up there? They're not going to
Let me-
make bread. I'd like to know what they're going to do.
I think Mr. Shore is probably the best person to talk
All right.
about
What are they doing?
what they do, how they do it, and what their plans are for growth.
What they're doing in Marblehead? What kind
And
of
what they're doing in
licenses and
Marblehead.
permits they get from Marblehead?
Yep, sure. Warren, maybe you could come up. The reason I'm,
They gonna address all that?
Mr. Chairman,
One
Oh,
second.
what? They got a handout?
he's getting
got a handout or something?
Yeah, as usual.
This is all gonna be verbally?
Okay. I don't know that we have a handout, but I think
Well-
Mr. Shore, if you give Mr. Shore an
One
opportunity.
sheet of paper, what are they gonna store, what are they gonna do? I mean, like I said before, they're not gonna make bread up there, what are they gonna do?
Right. Let Mr. Shore answer
Maybe
that
you could
question.
tell us.
One of the things, since this is being on cable, this is the mic that'll pick up for anyone who's listening at home. That's why I'm standing here, but I'll let you answer that question.
Did you, but one second, Mr. Shore, if I could. Council Pelletier, do you have one question to the mayor before we
I
allow
got
Mr.
several, but, you know,
We can do that, Warren.
We'll let Mr. Shore, then maybe some of those questions will get answered, then we'll bring the mayor back.
I just think Councilor O'Keefe gets a little ahead of the game, so.
That's okay.
I didn't hear what he said.
He says you're a wonderful individual.
I hope so.
I do want to point out that during the meeting that I had with Mr. Shore and Pat from his staff, they really did give us a good understanding of the type of science that's involved. And certainly, I had some of the same concerns that you had. You know, are we talking about Ebola virus out there? You know, what's going to be happening? And he answered those questions. And that's why I think he's the best person to answer them as opposed to me trying to regurgitate the information that he provided. So.
Has our fire chief talked to him about any of these things?
So, just so we're clear, I don't mean to interrupt. Anything that happens there, obviously, the TIF does not absolve anybody from any state or local laws that they would need to require. I think you'll find that everything is non-hazardous and doesn't necessarily trigger any additional requirements beyond anything that we're already doing in the city. But clearly, by giving them a TIF, we're not giving them a get-out-of-jail-free card for every license and permit they may need in the city of Salem. So those are items that can be
Several
addressed.
terms. Hazardous is one big umbrella. There's all kinds of other things that go under hazard. But,
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. President, why don't we go on with that?
As a former state fire marshal, I know you know a lot about this.
I have a whole bunch of questions, and I don't think I'm going to get them answered tonight. That's why.
Counselor, I certainly, I would say that, you know, we can make ourselves available after this meeting to talk about the operations. I don't want to give you the impression that the TIF would, you know, obviate the need for any licenses or permits that might exist.
Mr. Shore.
Essentially, to answer your question briefly, because I could speak for hours about what we do, our facility in Marblehead, we've been there for 11 years, and our manufacturing consists of repackaging antibodies. And antibodies come usually in very small vials, typically 1 microgram to 100 micrograms. That's a millionth of a gram. Usually too small to even see. It typically coats the vial. Our vials are about an inch and a half tall. That's a harmless product. Antibodies are derived from rabbit blood or mouse blood, and then it's processed to separate the proteins. And that's what the research is using. Where United States Biological has grown quite a bit over the years is we have a portfolio of over 100,000 antibodies, which is the largest of any company in our industry. So we're known by every biotech company, by every pharmaceutical company, and every university research lab throughout the country and actually throughout the world. There's no harmful or dangers involved in that. There are no solvents used. It's PBS buffers, phosphate buffered saline, which is sodium chloride and sodium phosphate and water. So that's the essential makeup of the vials. We have another part of our operation that's a little bit larger, and we grind and blend powders that are used to grow bacteria. Researchers, it's like 1-a-day vitamins, but for bacteria. And researchers that are growing specialized cells need to know that certain cells cannot grow in specific amino acids. So if they remove one amino acid, that cell won't grow. And what they do is they genetically engineer their cells to grow in that amino acid. So if we make a media for them and we eliminate alanine or one of the amino acids, only their cell will grow. And that's how they separate their cell lines from others that might contaminate it. So that operation involves about 80% salt and sugar, standard USP grade, food grade salt and sugar, and then amino acids in about 5%, and then about 5% vitamins. So again, all food grade products, and no dangers of shipping or receiving or packaging. And that's essentially our operation. What I'm hoping we do in the future with the extra space that we have is set up a therapeutic drug monitoring facility. And that allows us to take our antibodies and manufacture new test kits for new antibodies, for new drugs that are coming out. Tie in with a pharmaceutical company, we'll do all their testing for them, if they let us design a kit to test their new drug. And that would require 2 or 3 additional labs with instrumentation. Again, nothing harmful, usually salts and sugars and water to do that. But that's here I think we can grow very quickly. And one of the reasons I like Salem, besides it's a cool city and I've lived next to it for 30 years, is the medical corridor between Salem, the hospital, and the North Shore Medical Center has been growing very, very quickly over the past 10 years. And we see a lot of our future customers around there. Like when you get a blood test and it's for an antibody test for a special type of cancer, we can be the lab that can do that type of testing. So it would be helpful to be in a medical area, a medical corridor for that. So, the other thing too is we're in Marblehead and we're operating now, and I'd like to invite anybody to come by at any time, with or without an appointment, and walk through the facility and see what we do. I think you'll get a better feel for it. It's nothing huge and dramatic. There's a couple of small laboratories and a couple of mixing areas, but it's very clean, very pharmaceutical looking. So that's essentially the operation.
Mr. President, do you need any licenses or permits from the town and from the state for this operation?
None.
None.
The only regulatory body that we've ever dealt with in the past is the Southern Essex Sewage District, and they want to make sure we're not dumping anything into the water supply that could harm the bacteria they use to digest the sewage. And they've always certified us as a regular lab, a research lab, not a production lab that emits large quantities. And even that being said, we still take all of our waste from the labs and we pump it to a holding tank where we have pH neutralization tanks. So even if there was a slight acidic nature to the water, we'd neutralize it before sending out to the sewer system.
Are those tanks inside or outside?
Pardon me?
Are those tanks inside or outside?
They're
They're stored-
inside. Yeah, they're 5-gallon tanks. They're filled with calcium carbonate chips, essentially.
Thank you.
That kind of explain? I
More
could
in a
talk for
minute,
hours.
more in a minute,
but-
my colleagues have questions.
All right, thank you.
Council, hold on. We're not quite done yet. Councilor Sosnowski had his hand up, so I think he wants to ask you a question.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. You create the medium for all these testings to happen, and they're pretty much neutral-based, right? Are you taking in these vials from outside companies and doing the actual testing within your facility?
We're not doing that work yet. That's something we hope to be able to do in the future. What we're doing now is we're sourcing about 95% of our product line from manufacturers around the world. Pretty much rabbit farms and small research labs at Howard Hughes Medical Institute, and technology transfer where you may have a research lab at Harvard, they did a research project, they made an antibody, and at the end they're left with 100 vials of antibody. So they contact companies like us, we put them in our catalog and resell them, and we pay them a license fee for doing that. So we get it in a vial. About 80% of the time we just put a different label on the vial. The rest of the time we may take that antibody out in the lab and add something to it, usually glycerol, to keep it from freezing. Because if you take an antibody and you freeze and thaw it more than 3 or 4 times, you reduce its activity. So.
The other question would be, naturally you don't have a crystal ball, you don't know what's going to happen in the future, but if you did do on-site testing and someone were to send you vials of type A bacteria, but somehow a different vial get included, does your testing take place in an isolation chamber of some sort?
Drug testing is it's a very complicated issue. It really depends on if you're doing drug testing for clinical trials versus drug testing for patient results. If it's drug testing for patient results, it's highly regulated by the FDA. They have a series of regulations called CLIA, the Clinical Laboratory Information Act. And we need to have an MD on staff as part of the company. And we do have to have isolation rooms. We're building the isolation rooms anyway. They're going to be, essentially our labs will be a lab within a lab with double-walled corridors with different ventilation for each room so that the laboratory is under negative pressure. So if we ever did do CLIA testing, the facility is already ready to do that.
Would that present a hazard to the neighborhood in any way, shape, or form?
No more than anything that's at Salem Hospital right now. So it's patient blood would be tested.
Right. So there's nothing, there's no Ebola virus gonna fall on a vial that breaks on the floor and all of a sudden we're all in trouble.
We would never get a patient sample that had an active virus in it as part of our testing.
Because I think that's the main concern I think everybody has.
I think we would probably be 1,000th the risk that you might find at the hospital right now. If a sick patient goes into the hospital and gets blood tested, whatever they happen to have in their body
Right.
would be a risk to the hospital staff.
Right. All right, thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Council Pelletier?
Any
Thank
more
you.
questions?
Welcome for coming in tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry we didn't get you in sooner than this, because I certainly would have liked to tour your facility before this meeting. But we're at where we're at. I don't really have any questions for you at this point. I will later, but my questions will go to the mayor and the financial part of it. But maybe you can explain to the body here. Do you know how much work it's going to be to build this building up there? There's a lot of ledge. Do you have to remove some ledge? Will there be blasting, drilling to get that site prepared?
That hasn't been determined yet. There are 2 ledge outcroppings that are about 8 feet.
I'm aware of what
They're about 8 feet taller than the rest. But I was told by Peter Holland, who's already looked at the site, and evidently he did work there before for Fafford. And he noticed there's a lot of the ledge, what looks like ledge is riprap that's been dumped over the years from other construction there. So our question, which we haven't answered yet because we're waiting for Fafford to give us that answer, is we go from about 100 feet to about 88 feet. And we need to find that level where the building fits. And we either go up 6 feet or down 6 feet, or up and down 3. And my guess is that they're going to fill it to those 2 little ledge outcroppings, so that because I don't want blasting, because that's going to add to my cost significantly.
Exactly. Okay. Thank you. Any other-
Any other question? I just have one with regard to the building. I know that goes in front of, I know we're just talking about the TIF right now.
Yeah.
Is it gonna be like a steel frame building? Is it gonna be metal sides, brick? I mean, is it gonna kind of fit in with everything else that's over there, or?
We're hoping to look better than what's over there. I have a personal regard for pharmaceutical-looking structures, biotech buildings. So right now we've been looking at thousands of pictures. A big question is going to be cost, because the more glass, the more fancy exterior panels, it can add another $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 to the job. My guess at this point is we're going to go with glass facade areas. So if, a little bit like Salem Glass's, the front of their building, but not the entire building. Probably, the building I believe is going to be about 28 feet high and 295 feet long. So it's a long, skinny building. So to keep it looking a little bit more substantial, I think what we're going to do is build up a 40-foot area, which would be a facade only, then have a flat area, and then another facade, and then another flat area. And I think the facades will be glass, either a mirrored glass or a smoke glass. It'll be a flat roof building. And that's about all I really know right now. I think that's what everybody's leaning towards. But it will look good, because I want it to look good.
Council Ryan?
Thank you. Do you already have financing in place to construct this, or?
We do have financing in place. We have been given a letter of commitment by the National Grand Bank of Marblehead, and they're backed up by the Mass Development Bond Agency. Now, that application's been filed. We're told there have been no issues with it, and I believe it's about a 45 to 60-day period for bond counsel to review the paperwork.
Does this TIF depend? Do they tie into each other at all, or the finance?
They're not connected to each other at all. No, the TIF for us is a godsend, because we're exhausting all of our free cash to be able to afford the down payment and the additional costs above and beyond the bond. And that's kind of a dangerous place to be for a company, because if you have trouble with your cash flow, you can have trouble with your vendors and getting product, and that can snowball. So this is going to help us through that the first 3-4 year period.
Let the record reflect that Councilor Ronan has joined us. I'm not sure who this next question goes to, so would you like me to pose it first, or, and then, I don't know, is someone here from your finance team, or?
Bobby Matthews is here from our, the consulting company that can answer any questions regarding the TIF and the EDPs.
Okay. I get, my question would be is, why 13 years? I mean, I understand it's, I know, I read it, I just want to make, it says 13 years, but does the language, I mean, obviously it's come from the state, is it up to 13 years, or is it specifically 13 years? And at what point did we come to that?
That's definitely Bobby's area.
I can explain that. Thank you. My name's Bobby Matthews, and I'm working with Warren and Pat. And I've also been working with the mayor and Tom Daniel from the City Economic Development Office. A TIF has always been, you've been able to enter into a TIF from a period from anywhere from 5 to 20 years. And Salem has traditionally always done a 5-year TIF. What the Department of Revenue said and ruled on 2 years ago was that there's also a state tax credit component to this that, assuming the body approves the TIF tonight and the EACC, the state board, approves the project at the state level, they're eligible for a state tax credit. What the Department of Revenue ruled 2 years ago was that based on federal depreciation codes for a building, which are 39 and a half years, they ruled that a TIF had to be in place for at least a third of that period in order to take full value of the tax credit. So if you were to enter into a 5-year TIF as aggressive as you wanted to for this company, you'd be inadvertently penalizing a company on the state tax credit side. They'd only be eligible for 5/13 of that state tax credit. So hopefully assuming this body approves a TIF or moves favorably on this TIF tonight, and the state board moves favorably on the project as a whole, if it was a 5-year TIF, the company would only be eligible for 5/13 of the tax credit that was awarded at the state level. Does that make any sense? So really, for years 6 through 13, all you're doing is you're getting 99% of the tax revenue, which is sort of a wink and a nod and allowing the company to take full value of the state tax credit. Does that make any sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. I mean,
Okay.
it was explained to me a couple different ways, but that way is very exact, that it's tied into the total depreciation of the cost of the
Right.
building.
Right.
As opposed to the fact that they do pharmaceutical research or anything
No,
else.
that's
nothing
it.
to do
And
with
honestly, the full well, I'll let Warren speak to it. But the real value of this TIF is in the first 5 years, and the ability for the Salem City Council to move it out for 13 years without really any exposure at the local level for those 8 years allows the company to take full value of the state tax credit.
The second question was, I don't mean to put you on the spot
Yep.
while you're here, is I read in some of the paperwork that he's going to build out 50,000 square feet and with anticipation to use 30,000 square feet initially and at least 20,000 square feet to...
I'll let Warren speak. I don't think he has
Okay.
any plans to lease that out at this point. I think the hope is that the company is going to, he's going to be, well, I'll let you speak, but I think 35,000 square feet is where he's going to be. And I don't think he has any intention of.
We're actually up to about 45,000 now. We widened the lobbies to make the area look nicer, to have a future lobby for expansion with an elevator in the middle of the building.
Okay.
And by doing that, we lost another about 3,500 square feet. So we're in about 45,000 ourselves. And then if we added a second floor, we could increase our space or provide rental space in the future. But I don't have any idea about that yet.
Okay, because the only reason I asked the question, it was in some, we got a lot of paperwork over the last week and a half, and one of them came through, and I have it in here someplace, is where it stated that you were going to use 50,000 square feet and 30,000 initially with the potential of rent, but obviously you've modified that plan since. The only reason I bring it up is because that would be, my question would be relative to the financing would be, if we're giving you a TIF on 50,000 square foot building, and then your intent was to maintain 30,000 for your own use and then lease out 20, I was wondering how that would potentially affect the TIF.
Right.
But now that you're telling me you're gonna be using majority of the 50,000 square feet, I have less concerns.
Exactly. We're using about 45 out of the 50. Actually, I think the footprint is going to be 45 now. We cut it down to allow some more parking on the right side because it was a little bit narrow. We want to have two-way, not enough room for some parking. In case we did expand and we needed upwards of 80 parking spaces, we only have 23 employees now. So, I mean, even if we doubled, we wouldn't use anywhere near the amount of spaces that we're planning on putting there. But this is all at the site planning stage right now, and that literally is, the ink's still wet on all that. As far as how many spaces we need, we don't really know what that's going to be, so we want to put in the maximum amount now, in case we ever needed them in the future. It'd be too late then.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay. I think it's also going to be related too to the tax rate for the building, the amount of total square feet versus usable square feet. And I would assume that'll all get hashed out at the planning board stage, which hopefully will be pretty soon as well, as far
Hopefully
as I
so.
know. Hopefully.
Council Rona.
Yeah, Mr. President, through you, and I apologize, I was at another meeting, so I may be asking some of the same questions that were just asked. What are you talking about in terms of a annual tax credit? How much?
It's very fluid. The program, it used to be a statutory, It used to be a statutory 5% investment tax credit based on the investment associated with this project. I think you'll see this project is roughly $2.8 to $3 million. The program changed in January of 2010, so that now that tax credit is actually fluid, anywhere from a 1% to a 10% tax credit, depending on the discretion of the state board. They have a finite pool of money. It's also based on job creation commitment. The beauty of this project is Salem is considered a gateway city, and U.S. Biological is a life sciences company and a manufacturer. So it could be as much as $30,000 per job that Warren commits to create. So I think the tax credit could be, it's yet to be determined. It would be determined in September, but it's hopefully for Warren and the company, it's in the six figures.
Okay, and is that 1%, say it's a 1% tax credit, is that annually?
No, it's a tax credit to offset the company's state tax liability. So a company that is profitable in Massachusetts pays an 8.5% corporate excise tax back to the Commonwealth. The tax credit that, assuming you move favorably on the TIF and the state approves the project, whatever tax credit that U.S. Biological receives in September will be used to offset their state tax liability for, until they run out of it, if that makes sense. If they get a $150,000 tax credit, they can use it to offset their tax liability on an annual basis and carry it forward.
Okay, but it's a one-time.
No, it's a one-time amount that they can use it to over a period of really 8 years. Is that so?
Yeah, I get it. So you get they set the amount, say it's $100,000, and then you get to take a portion of that for the next 8 years.
Right. I mean, if the company has a tax liability of $100,000 in year one, they could take it. They can only really use it, and I'm sort of digressing. You can only use it for up to 50% of your tax liability on any given year, but you can carry it forward. Is that?
Yes. Okay. And as I understand it, the amount of the years that we give the TIF sort of is divided by
enables you the full value of the tax credit.
Yeah, 13. If we give you 13, you get 100%. If we give you, 5, you get 5/13ths.
Perfect.
Of the total amount, and then you carry that tax credit. You can use it over the next 8 years.
5/13ths over however,
Yeah, for the next 8 years. So the
but
amount,
you're entering into a 13-year TIF, allows the company, U.S. Biological, to take full value of that tax credit. that will hopefully be awarded at the state level.
Okay. And what's the criteria to be awarded that tax credit?
It remains to be seen. It used to be a fixed 5%, so
No, what criteria when you're applying for the tax
I
credit?
think this company is in a great position because the board gives preference to manufacturers who are expanding in what are called gateway cities. Salem is considered a gateway city. So I think there is really no criteria, but I think U.S. Biological is in a very strong position to secure as aggressive a tax credit as possible.
Okay, is that simply by virtue of the fact that they're manufacturers, or does
No,
being in
it's
the
a
biomedical field have any advantages?
I think manufacturers in gateway cities get preference. The tax credit is awarded on a 1 to 10% sliding scale. What they've done now is that, and I'm going to bore you guys to tears, you need to be able to not only make an investment but create jobs. So they'll give the tax credit to the lesser criteria based on if you're this company's spending $3 million. Technically, he could be eligible for, U.S. Biological could be eligible for a 10% tax credit because he's a manufacturer in a gateway city. But it's up to $30,000 per employee. So they'll give the tax credit to the lesser of the two. So he's creating 5 jobs at $30,000 a job is probably where they're going to go rather than 10% of a $3 million investment. But I'm speculating.
So
And
we're talking...
it's yet to be determined.
Okay. So
Does that make
talking-
sense? If
Yes.
he was creating 2 jobs, it would be $60,000. They'd give it. If he was creating 1 job, it would be $30,000.
Yeah, I understand. So in this case, if you were to get the 10% tax credit and hire 5 new employees, they would limit the tax credit to the 5 employees times $30,000.
Perfect.
Okay? So if we gave you a TIF for 13 years, you could take 100% of that $150,000
Exactly.
over the next 8 years.
Exactly.
Yeah, or any proportion that we give you
got
with a
it.
TIF.
Over the
We
next 2
sort of
years,
set
over the
rate.
next 6
Okay.
years, as long as he uses it over 8 years.
And any manufacturing company that came into Salem would be in the same situation in terms of, this 13-year sort of ratio.
I think the beauty of the new EOA that we've been working with Tom Daniel on, who's been great, and Tom's been great with working with us. You can create, site-specific EOAs and TIFs however long you want to make them. And 13 years would probably be, you'd be doing right by your next potential suitor by making it 13 years, even if the 8 years, as we see today, is negligible exposure to the municipality.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You all set?
Yep.
Council Fury.
Mr. President, thank you very much. A TIF is an economic catalyst to development and investment into our future Salem. Salem has had a great economic periods with a vibrant economic history with Savannah, Park Brothers, and a host of other industries. Now the future of Salem is in small businesses like yours, in the future of Massachusetts, and the future of the United States. 50 or less, like your company. Swampscott Road is like the new frontier of Salem for economic development. This company will bring new innovation and vitality to the area. Who would ever believe, sincerely, what Swampscott Road was 20 years ago to where it would be now with your company? It is a vibrant economic area with business opportunity and partnership with North Shore Medical. Indeed, it is a vibrant example of technology and technology way. The future of Salem, and the future of Massachusetts, and the future of the United States is in small businesses like yours. When we think of biotech, we think of Cambridge. This is a great opportunity for Salem, for a new small business like yours, and hopefully more biotech companies like yours will come to Salem. Indeed, this will be a gateway to a brighter future for Salem. Thank you for investing in Salem. Marblehead's lost, like Doyle Sale came to Swampscott Road, and you're coming to Swampscott. Marblehead's lost, Salem's gained. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions for me, or?
Council Pelletier.
No, I want to do some further, okay. Anybody have further questions for him? I just want to do some discussion.
Council Ryan.
Thank
you. When you came to Salem, did you know about this state program, or was it something the Salem Planning Board, when you went to talk to them,
All
did they
happened,
tell you about?
it happened all about the same time. We had met with Mass Bio, the Mass Biotech Consortium, which is the industry trade group for biotech companies in Massachusetts, and Peter Beer, who's their economic developer, put us in touch with the new Landmark Group, and it was through Bobby that we found out that there were, TIFs was even a program. We had no idea what was available. One thing that was very important for us is to get whatever economic help we could get from the Commonwealth. Getting it also from Salem was a big bonus. And Salem had the added benefit of being next to Marblehead, where we already are. So it made it a lot more convenient for everybody that works for us.
Now, did you look at any other places besides Salem? I mean, obviously probably Marblehead.
I'd looked in Peabody extensively before we were ready to move. What happened was Pat told me last year that our lease was up next year, and we better get going if we wanted to do anything about it. So we just started looking probably about 8 months ago, maybe, and renewed the look. Before that, we looked in Peabody. This time I found out about Technology Way, and we looked at Technology Way exclusively, figuring if that was good and we got help from the city and from the state, then it'd be a no-brainer for us.
I just want to make a statement. I read in CNBC today that Massachusetts was ranked number 5 states to do business because of the school systems, one of the best in the country, as well as all the higher education and the companies like yours, the health science, that helped to make the state better. I think Texas was number 1, but Massachusetts number 5. That's pretty good.
There's also a big benefit, too, to Salem, as you might have noticed with Beverly. Cummings Park opened up years ago in the U.S. Machine Building, and there's a lot of biotech companies in there, a lot of health companies. They've grown quite a bit. There are a lot of people that don't want to go to Cambridge, and they don't want to go to Boston, because they already live on the North Shore. So if you can go to Salem and commute 1 mile or 3 miles, and people would rather do that. So we rely on that. When we recruit, we don't recruit out of state. We recruit in-state only. We don't recruit people that will relocate. We only recruit people that live in the area. And we've had no problems for 11 years we've been in Marblehead.
And Mr. President, through you, I read the package that you presented, and it said I guess the annual tax that we're looking at is $59,000 a year, somewhere in that vicinity.
I think that was what we figured Salem Glass was being taxed for the same square footage.
Okay, your investment's about $3 million, as I understand it.
That's our estimate right now for the building.
Did you come to some understanding with anyone, with the assessor's office, with the mayor's office, about the annual tax itself?
I haven't been involved in any meetings about that. On our end, we've just been guessing that was the ballpark,
Okay.
based on Salem right across the street.
Okay. Our tax rate's $28 a thousand. Did you know that?
It's high. It's very high.
The reason why I asked that is because I want to make sure that if we give this TIF, we're not giving you 2 breaks. You know, that you don't already have a break, because just quickly doing the math out, the $3 million times $28 a thousand comes to $84,000 annually in taxes, not $59,000 a year. So, I just want you to be,
Well, again, at this point, I don't know what the tax burden is going to be on the building. I actually don't even know how that's determined. I'm assuming it's like a house where you count the number of bathrooms and floors and windows and go through all the level of detail, which we don't actually know that yet.
Maybe we get some.
The numbers that you're quoted are the raw tax numbers now. Obviously, there's no building on it, so it's just land. And I was explaining earlier before you came in, the way a TIF works, the city doesn't lose any money. The foundation's always going to be whatever we're collecting currently. What happens as Warren's company develops the site and grows, it just takes us longer to ramp up to meet 100% of what the obligation would be with the new growth. So these are all estimates that Tom Daniel works with our assessor. Thankfully, Deb has worked on TIFs in the past when we had Doyle and Groom and Falmer Optical. So it's not, that's the exact number. That's an estimate based on what the tax exemption's going to be as a result of the percentages off. But you're absolutely right. It's tied to if the building ends up being a much nicer building, you know, and the tax rates go up a bit, that valuation certainly could fluctuate. But whatever we're collecting, and this is the part that people miss, if we're collecting $55,000, we will continue to collect $55,000. But as we're supposed to collect, say, $100,000 on the new tax revenues as a result of the growth, we wouldn't get to $100,000 until we, you know, the maximum amount of the TIF was scaled out.
I'd like to chime in at this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to chime in at this point because I pulled the records for Fort Technology Way. Undeveloped, for 11 years, it went from 29,000 to 2001 it was 29.2, and in the year 2010 it was 35.8. So combined all those 11 years, it was 298,000 what we collected in taxes on that piece of property for 11 years. And I also want to allude to the past TIFs that we gave to the 3 on Swampscott Road. In 2010, between Doyle Sailmakers, Farmer Thermal Spray, and Groom Construction, it was $924,000 we collected in year 2010. And that's with the TIF. All right, when that building was the plastics company, a single business, we didn't get nowhere near those taxes. Now, with all the separate units in there, we make substantial more money, even with the TIFs in there. And the TIF is very regulated. You know, we're one of the few cities that can offer an EOA. I mean, Beverly, Danvers, Peabody, they can't, because they got highways. They're not allowed. So this is one thing we can do to help ourselves to get businesses in that not necessarily need a highway, but like the gentleman said, you know, he wants to stay close to where his home, his employees are, and this is a perfect opportunity. I mean, like the mayor said, I don't think we're not losing any money, because if you look, right now, this year, we got $35,000 for that piece of property. You know, so.
I think one other thing to point out, and we often talk about it during the budget cycle, is the need to have commercial growth, and that really does help us stabilize and offset residential property increases. We know our commercial tax rate is, you know, about 1.5 times higher than what residents pay, so the more commercial growth we have, the more we're able to even out that ratio between what residential property owners pay the city in taxes and what commercial property owners pay, especially with the loss of revenue from the power plant. You know, we've seen that imbalance grow further, that residents pick up a greater portion of the pie. So any chance we have to collect commercial tax revenue also helps take some pressure off of the residential homeowners.
If I make the, with regard to the tax increment financing, when we vote on this later, because as we said, the numbers we're talking about are kind of a moving target with regard to what the value is.
Right.
We're going to adopt the, basically the chart, which basically says the first year it's 100%, then it
That's
goes.
exactly right.
So we're going to adopt the 100, 80, 60, 40, 20, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, just so everyone's clear. I mean, we're not going to be adopting a number.
That's right.
It's going to be, they're going to go sit in front of site plan review or wherever they have to go in front of, do their job.
That's right.
Someone's going to go evaluate the building, and then they're going to work this formula and plug the numbers in.
That's exactly right. We approve a formula, and these are estimates based on what's reasonable considering the other property values in the area, but it won't be an exact until they're actually completed, and that's why you're adopting the percentages. Correct, Councilor. And we do have that, you know, we did mention, I think, Councilor Ronan, before you came in, we shaved down the amount of the TIF a little bit from the 191 to the 167,209, so that shouldn't affect what you're voting on, but I just want to make sure people are clear on that.
Council Lovell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mayor, we've been trying to get Technology Way built out for many, many years now. It's an area of Salem that we want to encourage and invite this type of business in. When this business goes in, and I anticipate that it has the votes to grant this TIF and that they'll be built out, how much of that area, I believe it's owned by one owner.
That's correct.
Okay.
Fafford, you're talking about the Fafford parcels?
Yes, I am. The Fafford parcels. How much of that then will be built out? 50%, 75%? Do we know where we are with trying to get that? Is that, it's just,
No. So it's a little tricky because the parcels have not always been subdivided the way that you might anticipate. So we have Salem Glass, we have Thermal Circuits, and now obviously we're very hopeful we'll have US Biological. There is acreage that is still left up there. I anticipate it to be around 2 lots that are left, but frankly, if somebody came in and wanted to subdivide, you might be able to, you may see a bit more. You know, our struggle has really been getting Fafford interested in soliciting interest in the site. There have been times when we've had companies that wanted to expand or locate to Salem that we've sent them to Fafford, and sometimes they couldn't get a return phone call. So, having more interest in marketing that site, I think, would be helpful. And I believe it's about 2. Councilor Pelletier, I think, has the layout of the land, and Lynn, feel free to weigh in. But there's certainly, I think it could be built to suit depending upon what your needs are. If you had one business, at one point there was talk about Thermal Circuits potentially expanding, so that may be an option as well.
So in other words, we would say that, of the raw land that's up there, 50% is built on, given the fact that you could side.
I don't know. Let us get back to you. I think
All right,
3/5
yeah,
is the way I tend to look at it, like 2 parcels left. But I think we'd like to refine our answer by really looking at what the lines are up there.
Thank you. Just one other thing. I'm supportive of this. Having been on the council for about 13 years now, a number of these have come in front of us for a variety of reasons. I look to the Cummings Center that was mentioned earlier over in Beverly. I grew up down the street from the United Shoe, and that building, that massive building, sat fallow for years and years and years. And I thought eventually it would be ripped down and they'd put something else. And it's amazing what's been done there, and it really is in big part because the city of Beverly stepped up and gave a TIF to allow that to happen, that type of growth. And that's exactly what we should be doing here, especially biomed, to invite that type of industry in is great. So I'm supportive.
Mr. President?
Council Rowland, then Council Pelletier.
Yeah, I guess this is really just to my fellow colleagues. I don't have a problem with TIFs, and I told the mayor this when we met early on, because I think it's right to give them an incentive to come and to invest $3 million in our city, and it's not really like we're giving them anything; we're just taking less. My problem here is I don't think that we have to necessarily be tied into 13 years because the state statute says that they can, max out their state tax credit if we give them, the equivalent of whatever it is, 1/3 life of their building, 39 years. And we shouldn't be. Then everybody that comes in, they're going to say, well, my building's I got a 100-year-old building. Can you give me a TIF for 33 years? Well, so that they can max out on their tax credit. We're giving them all of their money essentially from the city in the first 5 years, and everybody else down off of Swampscott Road has had the same sort of deal. You've given them a TIF 5 years. I just don't know whether or not you want to set a precedent where you're giving that TIF out 13 years. Their real benefit is from us is in the first 5 years. Now, their tax credit, what they're going to get, if they're going to get anything, if they're going to have a tax, really doesn't have anything to do with us, so it really shouldn't drive our argument here. If you do the numbers out, they're looking somewhere from $30,000 total tax credit that they could take over 8 years up to maybe $300,000 if they maxed out at 10%, but who knows? But I don't think those numbers should really drive us. I want to give this business, a leg up. I want them to, have them come here to Salem, but I'm leery of setting a precedent. I don't know that, and I asked for the history, we've ever given anyone a 13-year TIF, ever.
Well, let me just say that we did give some thought into the length, as we do with any TIF obligation, and I think we're trying to give this company every opportunity to succeed and grow. I think We don't know the exact amount the state's going to offer them, so we want to make sure that we give them an opportunity to maximize that benefit. It's going to go back into job creation and improvements. One of the things that Mr. Shore did not mention today, or maybe he did and I missed it, but we've talked about, is partnering with our schools, both Salem State College and other programs. So there are benefits that go with having these sorts of company here, this type of company here, beyond just the economics. I think the economics make perfect sense. The benefit in the last 8 years, notwithstanding the concern about 13 years, is fairly nominal to the city, yet it will give them an opportunity to maximize their benefit from the state. And so it's not really costing us anything, but it's giving them a leg up and the best opportunity to succeed. This is a big investment. It's a risk. It's a small company. They're going from 15,000 square feet to nearly 50,000 square feet, and they're doing it here. So, we took the position that we'd rather not have them risk the revenue side of it, provide them with the maximum benefit, and put them in the best obligation to succeed and grow, and hopefully we're seeing more than 5 to 10 jobs, even still, especially since the benefit, frankly, isn't coming from the city, it's coming from the state. I appreciate your concerns. I do believe the hotel, actually, the Waterfront Hotel, had a longer-term TIF. I didn't negotiate that when they started out. So, from my perspective, we're trying to do what we think is in the best interest of the city. And in this case, a 13-year TIF, longer term than what we've traditionally done. And this was a change in the last couple of years, so it's not as though this DOR requirement on depreciation was around for all the years that we've been giving out TIFs. So I hope the council will consider the proposal as submitted. We've, I think, negotiated a hard bargain, but one that also ensures this company comes here, develops, has a good-looking building, a strong partnership with the city and other institutions here.
Councilor O'Keefe.
Well, Councilor Pelletier says some more questions. I'll be the last, probably.
Be the last.
I'll wait on others.
Councilor Pelletier.
I was just going to, I would agree with the mayor on the 13 years. I'm looking, tickering off, the hotel got a 12-year. And really, Council from Ward 5, I want to appreciate you asked some really good questions when you first come in. I learned something new. But in regards to the, it's pretty much 5 years. And the next peanuts as far as I'm concerned for money. So,
I understand.
I want to point out,
we're trying to give them the opportunity to get more from the state so they stay viable and they stay in Salem, and they grow.
one piece of information, the last, I think, 20 TIFs that the state just approved are all 13 years. So there has been a change. The state was there was criticism around TIF, the TIF program, who was getting TIFs. They modified their regulations, so now they're trying to, I think, put it more in line with this DOR depreciation schedule. So it certainly may be the norm going forward, given some of the changes.
Any other questions?
Just quickly, that the
Council Sergeant.
the rocket was 190, 80, 70, 60 right down through. This one, that was spread out over 10 or 12 years. This one is spread out over 5 years.
You're right.
Small percentage of estimate.
Councilor O'Keefe.
Not of the mayor, of Mr. Shore. Thank you, Mayor.
I just want to say, councilors, I know that you're meeting at 8. I'm going to have to leave shortly. I have another meeting I need to get to, or another event I need to get to. And so are there any questions? Okay, great. I appreciate that. And
Thank you.
I hope everyone acts positively this evening. I'll just say that. Thanks.
Mr. Shore. Unless the colleagues have got some,
Do you have a question for Mr. Shaw?
oh, a whole bunch.
A whole bunch.
Mr. Shore, where in Marblehead is your business now? What street, what area?
Behringer Way, right around the corner from Red's Pond. Pond
Doyle's,
Street.
why I ask all these questions, Doyle Sailmaker, I knew where they were,
Right.
but I don't know where you are in Marblehead.
Nobody
so that's,
does. We're actually right in the middle of a residential neighborhood.
You are
There's an
now.
old building. It was the Behringer Machine Building
Behringer
from the
Machine.
50s.
For you, Mr. President?
Go
Do you
ahead,
have a website?
We do.
And do you have a card with it on there, maybe?
I do.
Because I tried to look today and I couldn't, I tried looking up US Biological, I wasn't very successful.
Type in US Bio.
Oh, that's what it was, okay. Maybe my colleagues might want it.
He likes to find stuff every once in a while.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Counsel.
Mr. Shaw, I didn't think I got a fair answer from you. Maybe I didn't ask it directly.
Sure.
I'm a professional engineer and I have all kinds of questions, but we'll talk later about that. But you have no licenses or permits now necessary in Marblehead. Is that what you sort of?
Correct. We operate under a self-imposed
What about from the
CGMP.
state? What about from the state? Any?
No requirements for
None whatever.
research facilities.
Now, you will need a special discharge permit from the South Essex Storage.
No, we won't need
No?
a discharge permit because we're not discharging anything.
You're not going to discharge.
No, we're a research lab, and research labs generally don't discharge large amounts of
Well,
effluent.
I think I like your idea of you coming to Salem, and you've answered all my technical
We're very excited about coming here. It's,
And I agree with the mayor and some of my colleagues. We encourage you to come here. You don't make sales, but you do something else. And wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Counsel Pelletier.
I'd like to make a motion. This be referred to the committee as a whole for unanimous approval.
We are in the committee of whole, sir.
To the council.
Counsel Pelletier recommends that Council Order 453 be referred to the council with a positive recommendations.
Second motion.
Second by Council Keefe. Any further discussion?
Roll call, please.
In 1 second, Council Pelletier.
We'll take a roll call. I want to make another motion.
Want to make another motion?
No.
The first one has to be acted on.
We have a motion in front of us, so
Right.
we want to deal with that one first.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
I don't think we need a,
Fears asked for a roll call vote. Show of 3 hands, please.
That's it.
Thank you. I'll call a roll as soon as what we do with them, Cheryl.
Is this a whole matter, or are you
No, there's two other things.
changing the EOA?
No, that's what's before us right now.
send it.
Changing the EOA, because
Council Fury.
Yes.
Change it?
Counsel
What are we
Lovely.
changing?
Yes.
Council O'Keefe.
Yes.
Oh, I thought this was
Council
the-
Pelletier.
Yes.
Council Pinto is absent. Council Creevy is absent. Council Ronan.
Present.
Present. Council Ryan.
Yes.
Council Sergeant.
Yes.
Council Sosnowski.
Yes.
Council MacArthur, yes. We have, this one. 9 members voting, 8 in the affirmative, 1 present and 2 absent. The matter carries.
Mr. President,
Councilor O'Keefe.
I move for immediate reconsideration and hope it will not prevail.
Councilor O'Keefe moves for immediate reconsideration, hopes does not avail. All's in favor, all's opposed.
Opposed?
Council Pelletier.
I make a motion that Council Order 454, Resolution 1, authorizing certified project of application of U.S. biological, be sent to the council for approval.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Council Fury. Under discussion? Any discussion?
No discussion.
Can I get a clarification what we're voting on here?
We're voting
Three
on
orders in front of us.
Council
Are
Order
we
number
voting on 454, Mr. President?
454, which is the
Resolution
It's the
1.
resolution application, it's got all the whereases in it.
This is the reason why.
Move the question.
Otherwise, after 2015, if we don't do
Matter of Council Order number 454. Council Fury.
Yes.
Council Lovely.
Yes.
Council O'Keefe.
Yes.
Council Pelletier.
Yes.
Pinto's absent. Council Creevy's absent. Council Ronan.
Yes.
Council Ryan.
Yes.
Council Sergeant.
Yes.
Council Sosnowski.
Yes.
Council MacArthur, yes. On the matter of Council Order number 454, we have 9 members voting, 9 in the affirmative, none in the negative, 2 absent. The matter carries.
Did you get this back?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilor O'Keefe.
I move for immediate reconsideration and hope it will not prevail.
Councilor O'Keefe's motion for immediate reconsideration that hopes does not prevail. All's in favor, all's opposed.
Opposed?
Carries. Councilor Pelletier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for Council Order 455, Resolution 2, authorizing tax increment financing agreement for U.S. Biological, be approved by the council. Roll call vote.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Fiore. Under discussion?
No discussion.
Seeing none, on the matter of Council Order number 455, is that correct, sir?
455.
Councilor Fiore,
Yes.
Councilor Lovely,
Yes.
Councilor O'Keefe,
Yes.
Councilor Pelletier,
Yes.
Councilor Pinto is absent, Councilor Prevey is absent, Councilor Ronan,
Yes.
Councilor Ryan,
Yes.
Councilor Sergeant,
Yes.
Councilor Snosky,
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy, yes. 9 members voting, 9 in the affirmative, none in the negative, 2 absent, the matter carries. Councilor O'Keefe.
Move for immediate reconsideration. Hope it will not prevail.
Councilor O'Keefe's motion for immediate reconsideration, all those in favor, all those in favor, all those opposed.
Move for adjournment?
Pelletier moves to adjournment, all those in favor, all those opposed, we stand adjourned. Thank you. Special meeting of the City Council was held in City Council chambers on Wednesday, July 21st, 2010, at 8 p.m. for the purpose of adoption of an order and resolutions for a TIF, a tax increment finance for U.S. Biological Inc. Notice of this meeting was posted on July 16, 2010 at 9:16 a.m. Absent are Councilors Pinto and Prevey. Council President McCarthy presided. And we'll just jump right into it. We're going to go to committee reports. Councilor O'Keefe, if you will, please.
Recognize the Council President, Council Warden, Robert McCarthy. Council McCarthy?
Thank you, Mr. President. Very briefly, we had a committee of the whole meeting prior to this meeting. First of all, I want to thank all my colleagues. This matter of the TIF came to us late. I'd also like to thank Mr. Shore and all of the people he brought with him. They come to talk to us about this tonight. Obviously, Mr. Shore, in order to apply for a bunch of tax credits and whatnot, and with his dealings with the owner of the property, came to us in such a time that we were gonna, it was presented to us in such a way that we were gonna have to deal with this past Thursday at our last meeting of the summer. To the credit of all of my colleagues in this room, and even the ones that couldn't be here, that expressed they wanted to be here, but because of prior commitments and vacations and whatnot, couldn't be here. The council came to the understanding that, you know what, we wanted to hear Mr. Shore, but we wanted to give Mr. Shore an opportunity, and we wanted ourselves to have the opportunity to ask Mr. Shore a variety of questions relative to the TIF agreement and everything in the resolution that we will be adopting tonight. It just seemed more beneficial to have a committee of the whole meeting, of which we all participated in, and then have a special council meeting, of which we all had to agree to. And I mean, I knew it was one more night for all you guys, and I know you didn't want to do it, but to everyone's credit, they stepped up to do it. And I just want to thank everyone, especially the city clerk and the assistant city clerk, for taking time out of their summer to come out and do this meeting for us. That being said, the first matter that came out of the committee of whole that we just had was the matter of the adoption of an order to modify the existing economic opportunity and approve site-specific EOA for the tax increment financing for U.S. Biological Inc. The committee of the whole has considered said matter and recommend adoption.
The committee chairman has recommended acceptance of the report. All in favor? Opposed?
Present.
All in favor?
That's on the, that's
How
on
many
the-
in favor?
To the report, that's not.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 in favor, 1 present. Mr. President?
Yeah, briefly, we just rehashed all of this, and a lot of us asked a lot of questions, and I don't think we need to. Councilor Ronan had a prior commitment. He was across the street at 120, dealing with an issue in his ward in front of zoning, so he was unable to be here for when we discussed this matter, so that's why he just said present. To his credit, he didn't want to vote on anything he wasn't present for. The committee of the whole, we heard everything. This is just basically adopting an order to modify the existing opportunity, to approve site-specific, so that every time an individual such as Mr. Shore, a company comes in, that we are able to allot them the most benefit for the amount of time for the tax increment, so we're not pigeonholed to a short-term amount. So I would, as came out of committee, I would recommend for approval by roll call vote.
The chairman of the committee has recommended that the roll be called on the adoption of the recommendation of the committee. 3 hands. The clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Fury?
Yes.
Counselor Lovely?
Yes.
Counselor O'Keefe?
Yes.
Counselor Pelletier?
Yes.
Counselor Ronan?
Present.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Sargent?
Yes.
Counselor Sosnowski?
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy?
Yes.
On the matter of the yeas and nays on the adoption of the modification of the existing EOA and approve the TIF for U.S. Biological, the vote was 8 yeas, no nays, 1 present, and 2 absent. I declare the adoption of the order.
Move for immediate reconsideration, I hope it does not prevail.
Reconsideration, if one member will. Councilor Pelletier, move for immediate reconsideration, open will not prevail. All in favor of immediate reconsideration? Opposed?
Opposed.
Unanimous. Councilor McCarthy,
Thank you.
report, committee report.
Thank you, Mr. President. City Council, July 24, 2010, Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter of the adoption of the resolution authorizing a certified project application for U.S. Biological Inc. has considered said matter and recommend adoption.
Remarks, Mr. President, on the...
Briefly, once again, we had a Committee of the Whole meeting prior to this. U.S. Biological submitted a bunch of paperwork relative to their financing for the project and how they, and Mr. Shore explained his business, and I would, as came out of committee, I would recommend for adoption. By roll call vote, please.
Under discussion?
Remarks, Councilor Pelletier.
Thank you. I had my hand up the last time, but you weren't aware. I just wanted to thank the council president for having this on TV so I don't have a lot of phone calls during my vacation. Okay? I know we're supposed to take it up last meeting. I appreciate my councilors coming out tonight. I know everybody wants to get going on their vacations, limited time, but I appreciate it, Mr. President. Thank you very much. I appreciate the people from Mr. Shore and everybody else coming in on their time.
Well, the matter before us is the calling of the roll, so we should, unless you want to suspend the, you want to remarks now on the motion to,
No,
I'll recognize Councilor Ronan.
yeah, Mr. President, yeah, this is, the initial matter before us didn't have anything to do with U.S. Biological, just, you know, to set the record straight. It had to do with changing the EOA
That's
to a
correct.
site-specific EOA. I wasn't here for the initial parts of that, you know, the discussions. I didn't have the opportunity to ask some questions I had. That's why I voted present on that last one. This one, however, has to do with the specific TIF, and I'm going to be in favor of that one. Thank you, Mr. President.
I read the adopt modification to existing EOA and approve the TIF for U.S. Bio. That's what we just voted on, so you are correct.
Thank you.
Modification. Now we'll call the roll. The clerk will call the roll on this recommendation of the committee.
Counselor Fury?
Yes.
Counselor Lovely?
Yes.
Counselor O'Keefe?
Yes.
Counselor Pelletier?
Yes.
Counselor Ronan?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Sargent?
Yes.
Counselor Sosnowski?
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy?
Yes.
On the matter of the roll call of the yeas and nays on the resolution authorizing the certified project application of the U.S. Biological Inc., the vote was 9 yeas, no, 0 nays, and 2 absent. I declare the matter adopted.
For immediate
Councilor
reconsideration, I hope
Pelletier.
that does not
Immediate
prevail.
reconsideration, open up about. 3 hands. All in favor of reconsideration? Nobody? Opposed? Opposed. Opposed. Council McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Third one.
Third and last.
Third recommendation.
Third recommendation. In City Council, July 21st, 2010, the Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter of adoption of a resolution authorizing the tax increment finance agreement for U.S. Biological Inc., has considered said matter and recommend for adoption.
Remarks, Council President?
On discussion, thank you. Once again, I want to thank Mr. Shore and everybody you brought in. I also want to thank Lynn Duncan. Lynn, we never asked you any questions, but we heard lots of good things about the planning department and with their work, with Tom Daniels, with his work with their finance team to come up with this plan. For everyone at home that missed the first meeting, that we're just going to finish up our second meeting tonight, that's on television, is basically we're going to adopt the tax increment finance agreement with U.S. Biological, which the terms are in there, and basically it goes from 100 to 80 down to where in the last bunch of years it's down to 1%, which allows them to try to recoup as much potentially as they can from the state with regards to tax incentives. So we had a very lengthy and good discussion with Mr. Shore and his people, and the recommendation from the committee whole would be for adoption. I would urge my colleagues to adopt it again, and I would ask for a roll call vote.
Any other remarks from any members of the City Council? Hearing none. The clerk will call yeas and nays on this matter.
Counselor Fury?
Yes.
Counselor Lovely?
Yes?
Counselor O'Keefe?
Yes.
Counselor Pelletier?
Yes.
Counselor Ronan?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Sargent?
Yes.
Counselor Sosnowski?
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy?
Yes.
On the matter of the roll call on the resolution authorizing the TIF agreement for U.S. Biological, the vote was 9 yeas, 0 nays, 2 absent. I declare the matter adopted.
Move for immediate reconsideration, hope it does not prevail.
All those in favor of immediate reconsideration? All opposed? Opposed, unanimous.
Move to adjourn.
You wish to come back? Move for adjourn. All in favor of adjournment?